Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about The Poison Tree by Erin Kelly. The Poison Tree was my pick-a-book winner from January, which means out of 5 books it was chosen by you guys to be a book that I definitely read this month. And I had The Poison Tree on my shelves because earlier in my booktube journey I read another book by Erin Kelly called He Said, She Said. And I had mixed feelings about that book. So it was one of those situations where I wasn't crazy about it, but I thought it might have just been that story in particular. And so I really wanted to give the author, Erin Kelly, another chance. And I saw The Poison Tree at a library sale, and that's how this landed on my TBR shelf. It's kind of an older book. It was written in 2009, which means that it came out long before He Said, She Said. And unfortunately, it ended up being a 2-star read for me. So I'll get into that and how it relates to my experience with He Said, She Said in a moment. But first, The Poison Tree is about a college student in England named Karen who has always, done the right thing, and she's studying foreign languages, and that's her talent. Her talent is easily picking up foreign languages, and so she's always been on a very specific path, and she's very studious and responsible. And then in her last year of college, she happens to come across Biba. Now, that's short for Bathsheba, who is living with her brother in a gigantic house, and Biba is kind of a very free spirit. She doesn't deal with much responsibility or obligation. She's studying to be an actress, and immediately Karen recognizes something in Biba that she aspires to be, that free spirit, that the blurb describes it as bohemian. And so Karen and Biba become friends. Karen spends a lot of time with Biba and eventually starts a relationship with Biba's brother Rex. Now that's the half of the story that takes place in the past. In the present, we follow Biba when she picks Rex up from prison, where he's served a 10-year sentence for committing murder. As the reader, we don't know who the victim was. All we know is that it's pretty clear Rex didn't actually kill anybody. In the present, they also have a 10-year-old daughter named Alice, and Biba is nowhere to be found. So the mystery, of course, is what happened back then, and how is it going to come around and bite them in the ass in the present. Now, here's my problem. First and foremost, the blurb describes The Poison Tree as a much more exciting and thrilling kind of book that it is. Calling this a thriller is almost a stretch for me because its pace doesn't match that of a thriller. It has a few twists at the end and a few spikes of excitement, but outside of that, it falls really short for being a gripping and suspenseful thriller for me. I felt the same way about He Said, She Said. And my biggest complaint was the pacing of that book, how slow it was in the beginning, how, the plot just becomes buried under this focus on detail when it comes to, in that particular book, the events of a solar eclipse. The Poison Tree is structured exactly like He Said, She Said. The pacing moves along at exactly the same speed. And unfortunately, the plot is buried under a lot of detail that, as a reader of thrillers, I don't really care about. And because The Poison Tree was written first, it actually makes me even more disappointed in He Said, She Said, because He Said, She Said turns out is not original in structure or technique or language or plot development. The Poison Tree is the exact same book, only it's different characters in a different set of circumstances. But as far as alternating narratives, as far as the past colliding and clashing with the present, I feel like this author kind of writes one kind of book. And if you're a fan of that kind of book, then great. if you're like me and you're maybe not a fan of slower paced things, then perhaps it's not for you. There were characters in The Poison Tree that I'm not sure why they were essential to the plot line. And as far as this blurb stating, that Karen escapes to live with Biba and Rex and this life of bohemian excess and drugs and sex and all of it's not like that at all. I mean, it's very, it's quite toned down from that, actually, in reality, in the book, which doesn't help. It doesn't help move it along at a faster clip. As far as predictability goes, I can't say that I necessarily predicted like the largest twists of the book, but I could tell early on that Karen's relationships with the other characters like Biba and Rex weren't going to end up being what they appeared. Her hero worship of Biba, I mean, it seemed like a very immature attachment that she had, and you could kind of see where that relationship was going. The twist at the end of the book did come as a surprise, and so it did have that going for it. I mean, it was really just an okay read for me. I'm glad that you guys voted for me to read it. I did really, truly want to give Erin Kelly as an author another chance, and I can check this off, and I don't have to wonder about it anymore. And hopefully, this is informative for you guys who maybe were a little bit attracted to this book and considering it, or he said, she said, like, just know those things about it going in. It's slow going, and if you make it to 50-60%, then you're good the rest of the way, but you've got to get to that point first. And I think a lot of DNFs are going to occur or have occurred prior to the 50% mark. So that's all that I have for Erin Kelly's The Poison Tree. Again, this was my Pick-a-Book winner for January 2018. Stay tuned. In a couple of days, I will be releasing my next Pick-a-Book video for February of this year. And I'm looking forward to finding out what book you guys choose for me to read next. If you have any questions about The Poison Tree, I will leave links to the book down below. As always, I will see you all very soon.